Elon Musk says he would reverse Twitter's permanent ban on former President Trump. Musk said the ban was a morally bad decision and foolish. Twitter banned Trump's account following the January 6th attack on the Capitol after officials accused him of inciting violence. This all comes after Musk reached a deal to buy the social media platform for $44 billion. For more, I want to bring in Sarah Fryer. She is a big tech team leader at Bloomberg. Sarah, welcome. What reasons does Elon Musk give for restoring Donald Trump's Twitter account?
Well, assuming he does eventually take control of Twitter, which is a long way off, he says that he does not believe that permanent bans of accounts are reasonable or necessary or even useful for keeping bad content off of Twitter. Now, remember, when Donald Trump was banned from Twitter, it was because of his help in inciting violence around the January 6th riots. And perhaps time has passed enough that permaban is no longer necessary, according to Elon Musk. And Musk points out that Jack Dorsey, the former CEO who was CEO at the time of the ban, is also in favor of that position.
And are there any indications? How likely is it that former President Trump would actually return to the social media site? If he did return, how might that affect his new platform, Truth Social?
Well, Trump has said for his part that he plans to remain on Truth Social and has no interest in coming back to Twitter. But, that is where his fan base is. They are people who followed his every word on Twitter for years and years. And this is something he might need to do if he has sights on future political runs. So I don't think that if he were allowed back on Twitter that he would stay away for very long. Though you're right that it would definitely risk the success of Truth Social. But in the past, a lot of the sort of right-leaning social media outlets, such as Gab and Parler, have not fared very well because without people across the political spectrum to debate, there's not a whole lot of reason to be on a social network if everyone believes the same thing you do.
Interesting. Well, the former CEO of Twitter, Jack Dorsey, has come out saying that he agrees with Elon Musk that permanent bans are wrong. So what precedent could that set for other social media platforms?
Well, I think that at YouTube, at Facebook, on Instagram, they have to reevaluate these rules all the time. Does it make sense to ban someone permanently? What are the risks of bringing them back? And this is not just about Donald Trump. This is about every user. They have, in the beginning, they had no intentions of creating a permanent ban, but ended up having to do so after seeing sort of repeat offenders, people who were breaking the same rules over and over and over. And if you bring them back to the platform, where's the incentive to behave any differently? So I think that the social media rules have been and will continue to be very fluid and updated by whatever happens in recent events. And that is very confusing if you're a user of a social media platform. And that's what leads us to these concerns about, are these platforms censoring users? Are they adjusting their policies given some sort of political leaning? Well, there isn't a lot of human implementation of these policies. A lot of it is done algorithmically. And I think that that's another thing Elon Musk wants to change. He wants to make the actual algorithms that govern Twitter a lot more transparent so people understand what is happening to their content.
So many people watching closely to see what his plans might in fact be for that platform. Sarah Fryer. Sarah, thank you very much.